Andrew Wilson, is it over for Trump? Has he lost the manosphere, the broligarchy? And is that therefore the tipping point for the beginning of the end?
All righty, everybody, let's get into this. Piers started by pressing Andrew Wilson on whether Trump has finally lost his manosphere, and that's where things took a turn.
No, he hasn't lost it. The thing is unless Trump, the main thing Trump needs to focus on is mass migration. That's what people put him in office for. That's what people want to see. They want to see him address that singular issue, especially the younger voters, especially the younger men. Until he does that, he's going to always be slipping in polls with them, and he's going to be slipping in polls with his base, period. That's what he's there to do. So Tim Dillon's point that he's making here, he says, look, he's losing support for younger men. That is true. He does need to address the mass migration issue. That's the issue of the time, and that's what people put him there for.
This is important because Andrew is pointing out the real split inside the Trump's younger base. It's not about personalities. It's not about media narratives. It's strictly immigration, and that's why this argument keeps coming up over and over again.
Yeah, Brian Shapiro, I mean, on immigration, many would say that what he's done on the southern border has been a big success. They would agree broadly with the principle of deporting undocumented people in the United States who commit other crimes, separate to their visa status. Where the big flashpoint has been over just rounding up people who are undocumented and either threatening or deporting them. But, you know, I would say his base have been quite happy largely with what he's done there. One of the big things that's become a stick to beat him with is this whole issue of transparency, be it on the Epstein files, be it on, you know, the JFK files, be it on the murder of Charlie Kirk, you know, all these things. There's become a sort of running saw of a lot of MAGA people saying we're not getting the full transparency we were sure we get on all this stuff. How damaging has that been, do you think?
I think it's extremely damaging, Piers. The idea that this is the most transparent president and administration in years is absolutely absurd. They campaigned on it. Donald Trump and so many of his supporters released the Epstein files. We saw what they did with Jack Posobiec and so many other Trump supporters out there in D.C. with the binders. We know what Pam Bondi said. Now, every single time a reporter asks him about it, he attacks them or they're Miss Piggy. He's unraveling by the day. We all know why Donald Trump doesn't want anybody talking about the Epstein files. We know why. Because he's all over them and he has something to hide. The entire administration has been hiding this for him. Pam Bondi, including Kash Patel, who was asked under oath 7 times, did you tell Pam Bondi that Trump is in the Epstein files? Couldn't even answer the question. So the idea that this administration is transparent is like saying that the earth is flat, Piers.
All right, Isabel, I saw you putting expressions that suggest you didn't entirely agree with that thesis. So your response?
Well, of course, transparency should be important to every American of every background, and we should be fighting for that in any presidential administration. Those of us who have been paying attention for years, Piers, were asking where the heck is the president of the United States at 2:00 p.m. every day under the Biden admin, when seemingly he went to the residence to take a nap and called a lid on the media almost every single day in the press briefing room. So regardless of where you fall in the political spectrum, it's something important to fight for. But the suggestion that President Trump is somehow unraveling before our very eyes, I think is really shallow and very silly. What's interesting to me is people are noting a dip in an approval rating among the Trump administration, specifically zooming in on young people. And from my perspective, I think we're really missing the mark on why that dip in approval rating is happening. It's not because young people are abandoning the cause of MAGA or being America first or suddenly jumping ship to embrace the Zohran Mamdanis and radical socialists of the world. Rather, I would argue, I think young people are frustrated because the administration hasn't yet been conservative enough with the expectation of governance on offense that young people resoundingly voted returning President Trump to the Oval Office. People are looking for an immigration moratorium, giving H-1B visa job opportunities to American citizens. We're looking for more mass deportations. We're looking for the ability to buy a home so that we can revive the American family again. And we are seeing the baby steps to get there start happening at the White House, but we're looking for a full court press ahead, not just baby steps.
And Paula, before I come to you,
she's right. I just want to ask,
well, Andrew, I just want to ask Andrew specifically, actually, about Nick Fuente's role in all this, because he is gathering a lot of momentum, indisputably. capitalizing on all this. How significant is he in this ongoing debate?
I mean, he's really significant, and that's the truth. And I'll point something out that is also true. TPUSA moved a lot more towards the positions of Nick Fuentes than Nick Fuentes moved towards the positions of TPUSA, and that's a fact. That's an uncontroversial fact at this point. Now, do I agree with everything that Nick says? No, I don't need to. He doesn't agree with everything I say either. But he is right about this. Until this administration addresses mass migration, the issue of our time, and the issue of the people in the UK, their time as well, he's going to continue to be more unpopular and move down in the polls.
This is actually where the debate gets sharper, because Andrew is saying openly that Nick Fuentes didn't move towards the mainstream media. The mainstream media moved towards him. And that tells you exactly how much pressure immigration is putting on this political moment.
It's not about transparency or the Epstein files. She's absolutely right. It's about conservative issues. And we need to see Trump take a more conservative approach to the things that we want. That's what we want.
Okay, Paula, thank you for your patience. Welcome back to Uncensored. This whole thing about immigration has been raging now as a debate in America, in the United Kingdom, across Europe. Clearly, there are a lot of issues about the way governments around the world have handled the issue of immigration, particularly mass migration of millions and millions of people across the continent of Europe, never mind anything else. It's been nearly 10 million people have come across in the last few years. And we had 10 million people entering the US illegally in the Biden administration, and that may be a conservative estimate. These things are causing a lot of anger amongst people who are in countries legally, who do all the paperwork. I've repeated this many times, but it's worth mentioning again. For me to own a home in America and to work there, I go through a very laborious process every 3 years or so to renew my visa, to do it all above board, to be completely legal, as do millions of other people. And, I'm not an American, but I quite resent people just popping over the border illegally when they fancy it. Because I think, well, they're not paying, they're not going through this laborious process. Why are they getting away with this? So I do think that there is more that can be done. It's just a question of how much more and how you do it. The UK policies under successive governments have been utterly useless. We've got 50, 60,000 people just coming over on these small boats from France with complete impunity.
35,000, I think, Piers, was the last count.
For this year?
Yeah.
What will it be by the end of the year?
Well, we're a month to go.
Right, but I think it's a new record. Right, this is from Sakir Starmer, the Prime Minister promised to smash the gangs.
I just think we need to be careful, though. This is exactly the point, isn't it? That we need to be careful when we're talking about figures. What we're actually talking about is human beings. We're talking about lives. We're talking about people who have lost their lives because they are seeking a better life and because
hang on.
Opportunity.
We found out. Paul,
let's not conflate the two. Let's not conflate the two.
You are conflating two
refugee and asylum seekers with those who are seeking to make a better life for themselves, and the opportunity for them to do that is either limited or severely restricted.
What about those who are simply gaming the system? There was a purge, for example, specifically with people coming into Britain illegally from Albania. Turned out 15,000 Albanians in 1 year were just coming over, who were young, perfectly fit, healthy people, male predominantly, who wanted to get a better economic life for themselves. They're not asylum seekers. They're not refugees. They're people who live in Albania who just want to come and try their luck in the UK. I don't blame them for trying, but a system that just allows 15,000 to come in as we did in that way, and we had a word with the Albanian government, did a deal, and suddenly it was stopped. But it should never have been happening to start.
All right, everyone, we'll leave it right there. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like and subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate you all, and I will see you on the next one.